The topic we're going to talk about now is model selection. And what I mean by that in particular is parametric model selection. So I'm not talking here about choosing between a regression tree or a linear model. Rather, what I'm talking about is which terms you might want to include in a linear model. So I'm talking about thinking about whether to include an interaction term, or if you have 100 predictors, which of them do you actually want to include in your model? Do you need a squared term? That sort of thing. Again, as opposed to deciding whether you want a linear model at all. That's what I mean by model selection. So the general idea, our plan, is going to be to choose a model. In other words, a set of terms for a linear regression model that fits the data. So that seems like a good goal. We want to have a model that fits the data. I'm going to underline that because obviously it's one of our goals. But here's the constraint: without using too many parameters. So let's underline that in a different color to emphasize that's another goal. So we're trying to do a balancing act here, right? We want to choose a model that describes the data really well. We want it to fit the data. What do I mean by that? I want the residuals to be small. I want the fitted values to be close to the actual data values. But I want to do that without having 1,000 terms in my model. So there's a trade-off here. There's a trade-off between how well the model fits and how many parameters I need to include to make it fit. More parameters, and what do I mean by parameters? I mean that I have beta 1, beta 2, etc. Right? More parameters lead to a better fit. Also known as smaller residuals. But here's a trade-off. Also lead to what we call overfitting. And we'll continue to talk about this idea of overfitting as we go forward, so you'll see what it is. But in general, overfitting is when the model too closely describes the data that you used to fit the model, and therefore is not useful for generalization or future prediction. So I think it would be worth stopping here just to give you a quick example of when you might have overfitting.